It's my pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the program. Thanks. The Joe Pags Show. Great radio stations all over. Newsmax TV, joepags.com, iHeartRadio 2 on a Friday, a Free Speech Friday. Lots of people on the line want to be heard on a Free Speech Friday. What that means is whatever's on your mind, fair game. If I know something about it, we'll talk about it. If not, we'll move on. So we appreciate you taking the time. Something distracted me over here. See, people are asking, always ask, Harry, what are you looking at when you're on the TV or when you're on the radio?
What are you looking at?
Well, I've got 4 monitors, and the monitors have my email, they have my audio, they've got the video that I'm looking at, they've got the guests that I have coming up, and some of these websites will give you the most annoying pop-ups, and that's what just happened over. It's like this, well, eat this kind of food. It was very strange, very weird. All right, I want to welcome back a friend of mine, Gary Byrne. He is an author. The name of the book is Crisis of Character. A White House Secret Service officer discloses his firsthand experience with Hillary, Bill, and how they operate. And Gary, it's been a little bit, but I'm really glad that you had the time today. Thanks, man.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be with you again, Joe. Thanks again.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. So we hooked up at the convention in July in Cleveland, and we talked at length about who Hillary Clinton is, who Bill Clinton is, how they operate, and what you saw firsthand, and what other Secret Service agents and officers saw firsthand as well, and how you guys all talked about it. When you hear Hillary Clinton constantly, now the USA Today came out today saying Donald Trump doesn't have the temperament and is unfit to lead and temperament this and unfit that and unhinged the other thing. When you hear that, do you think that it's the Clinton campaign trying to divert attention from the fact that she is clearly, by what you report and what others have reported, she's the one who can't control her temper?
No, absolutely. She's trying to distract everybody. It's almost like she's basically taking my book, what I wrote, what happened, taking her name out of it and putting his name in. And that's kind of what the Clintons have always done. You know, they have to shift the blame, they have to distract it. And here's the thing, Joe, and you know this, she only has to distract the public long enough for the next scandal to come out. It'll only be a couple more days and then something else that they have done or her husband has done or their foundation has done or another email scandal will start coming out.
And she's got the media on her side that of course, helped deflect from any of that happening. You got, CNN and USA Today and ABC, CBS, NBC, all doing all they can to try to pretend that this Miss Universe somehow was treated horribly by Donald Trump. When again, we know there are at least 7 women I can probably name off the top of my head that we know that Hillary Clinton herself has treated horribly. Yeah. So again, let's go to the time that you were actually at the White House. You were a uniformed Secret Service officer, right?
Right, correct.
So you're at the White House, and on more than one occasion, you actually had firsthand interaction with Hillary and Bill Clinton, and you told me that he treated you guys pretty well. How did she treat you guys?
Yeah. She treated us very poorly. She treated most people, unless they were campaign contribution people, or somebody that she needed, and everything I talk about in my book, Crisis of Character, a lot of it can be verified by reading other people's books. Look at George Stephanopoulos' book. He talks about her anger and temper, too. What I witnessed, though, Joe, as you know, one example is I was standing outside the Oval Office where I was posted for 3 years while Bill Clinton was president. And Mrs. Clinton came up. It was around Christmas time, and she sent one of her staff members over to tell me they'd be leaving 30 people inside the Oval Office while the president wasn't there, because they were friends of hers from Arkansas. And I told the girl it wasn't possible. They can take the tour, she can come show them the Oval Office, but once the First Lady leaves, they have to leave too. And this girl berated me and then said she was going to tell the First Lady, and she did. And the First Lady comes down, and, she's about 5'5", I'm 6'2", standing almost toe-to-toe with me, berating me, calling me an a-hole, referring to the uniform division as a bunch of a-holes, how they should have fired us. And I almost laughed at her. And as you well know, Joe, this wasn't the first time, and it wasn't the last time I had witnessed her doing this to me or other people. I also told you the story about how she got so angry she actually struck a Secret Service agent in the back of the head with a Bible sitting in a limousine. It's just unacceptable behavior, and that is the true, real Hillary Clinton.
How has, and again, it's Gary Byrne. Go to @GaryByrneAuthor. It's BYRNE, @GaryByrneAuthor on Twitter. Go follow him there. You can go and find his book on all the usual places. I'm looking at it on Amazon right now. Crisis of Character. A White House Secret Service officer discloses his firsthand experience with Hillary, Bill, and how they operate. That's physical abuse. literal physical abuse by her. And you told me a story where she and the then President Clinton had some sort of a loud argument where you guys could hear them screaming and yelling profanities, though, well, maybe her more than him. And then at some point he comes out with a shiner. What happened there?
Yeah, so one morning I came into work, and as I was going over to the West Wing, I saw some of the guys from the mansion who worked there, some of the residence people, as we called them, that take care of the first family in the mansion. And they said, "Oh, you missed it last night." Had this huge argument. So I went over to see a friend of mine who worked the ground floor of the White House, and he basically told me the same thing. But he also said that during the argument, it got so loud, and then there was a crashing sound. And when it was investigated, they found a broken blue vase. It was mostly blue with some white. So as soon as he told me that, I knew just where to go. I walked down to the curator's office, opened the two small doors, looked inside on this straight back chair, and there was a small cardboard box with the mostly blue and white vase in it.
No.
And then a couple hours later, when the president showed up at the Oval Office, I was standing in my post, and he clearly had a black eye, and he was trying to conceal it with makeup. And when I asked his staff, the secretary and his assistant, what the black mark was under his eye, because I wanted to get a reaction on him and see what they would say, she tried to explain it that he was allergic to coffee. And I said allergic to coffee under one eye. It's hard to believe.
I'm sorry. He's allergic to coffee to give him a black eye? What?
Yeah, apparently that's an issue. So,
all right. So, again, it is well documented her violent temper. Well documented that she is unfit, or she has bad temperament, or she's abusive. But now she seems to want to hinge her campaign. And again, it's Gary Byrne at Gary Byrne Author on Twitter, and also go and get his book Crisis of Character. She is trying to hang some sort of misogyny on Donald Trump. He hates women. He treats women horribly. He's a horrible person, so on and so forth. But we know of many of the dalliances of her husband, Bill Clinton, even when he was at the White House. And you actually, tell a story about you saw him. You guys all who worked there saw him with other women, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. I tell a story in my book that one day I was walking from the east side of the White House back to the West Wing to my post, and I stopped at the ground floor of the White House again, right outside the map room, to talk to a buddy of mine. It was around Christmas time. Yeah. And the agent's standing there. And as we're standing there, the Navy steward walked up. And he's got a clean shirt for the president. And he points to the map room like, he's in there. And the agent kind of nods. And as he goes to open the door, the steward is looking at us. As he opens the door, he's looking at us in the hallway. The door's wide open, and we're looking inside. And there's the president and Eleanor Mondale standing there face-to-face, making out like high school seniors. And, of course, when he sees the look on our face, he turns around and looks in the map room and sees it, and he gets all flustered. He closes the door, and he runs down the hallway. And we just looked at each other and said, Merry Christmas. Welcome to the White House, Well,
so, Gary, is there any doubt in your mind that the then First Lady, now Democratic nominee for president, knew that her husband was doing these things?
No, I believe she did know. The only thing that I think surprised her, and I think you and I did talk about this one time, was the Monica Lewinsky thing surprised her. I don't think she thought that he would stoop so low at almost 50, somewhere around 50. He had an affair with a 21 or 22-year-old intern.
In the Oval Office.
Yeah, right behind the Oval Office in the study. And so here's the thing. The way she found out about it, Joe, was he sent his lawyer over to tell her. And clearly you can see, like, that weekend, I don't know what date it was, but if you showed me the video of them getting off the helicopter, coming back from Camp David, I can tell you which one it was. Because when she steps off that helicopter, he goes to grab her hand. And I'm telling you, the look on her face would have split an iceberg. It was unbelievable.
Hey, how often did you guys get that look?
Almost every day. I mean, it got to the point where we joke about it. It was a running joke. I mean, and that's why that's one of the reasons I wrote my book, Joe. I want people to know who the real Hillary Clinton is. Do whatever you want with the information, but the real Hillary Clinton is somebody who is almost comical because she is so unfit. She really hasn't accomplished anything. Let's not forget that back in the 70s, when she was working for the people investigating Richard Nixon, she was fired by the lead Democrats for lying. And then you fast forward to today with the email server scandal and all the other stuff. That's the real Hillary Clinton. She's a dictator. She's incompetent, and she is just unbelievably harsh to people. And I feel so bad when I hear her saying these things about Donald Trump because, I never worked for Mr. Trump. But I'm from the Philadelphia area, and it's about an hour's ride from Atlantic City and about 3 hours from New York. So I grew up hearing about the Trump organization. And here's what I knew about him before he ran against her. He was a wealthy man. He made a lot of good business deals. He, when his company got in trouble because of the economy, he saved it. He was very generous to his employees. I know people that worked in his casinos and hotels. They always had great stories to tell about him and how great their organization was. Not until he started running against Hillary Clinton in this election did I hear anything negative about him. And that's the truth. And if you went back and researched, did some Googling, you'll see that. There's not much out there about him. He's a good guy.
No, I agree with you. You could go on YouTube and go look at all the old videos. Even the media loved him. He was a media darling. They would show up and laugh and joke and play slap ass, and then all of a sudden he's the worst person on planet Earth because he dares run against Hillary Clinton. It's Gary Byrne. Yeah. The name of the book is Crisis of Character. I want you to go and get it. Crisis of Character, a White House Secret Service officer discloses his firsthand experience with Hillary, Bill, and how they operate. Go and grab it at the usual places. Also at Gary Byrne author on Twitter. I'll leave it here. One last question. When it came to her temper, and I think this is important for people who are trying to blow off the idea that she's got bad temperament and is unfit, but when it came to her temper, didn't you tell me, maybe I misremembered this, but didn't you tell me that then President Bill Clinton would actually come back to you guys and almost, maybe he didn't actually apologize, but almost ask you to understand why she was acting like that, and he treated you much better?
No, absolutely. That absolutely. I did tell you that. I told you that after I told you that, Joe, when I told you the story about how she berated the president about an incident at the metal detector room. I referred to it in my book, The Blue Glove Incident. And she berated him for over 40 minutes, cussing and screaming at him, demanding that he fire the Secret Service Uniform Division. And he actually ended up, it got so crazy, he was actually defending him. And then later on, he did act a little sheepish and, how was your day? And some of the agents had conveyed to me later on that at times when they got berated, that he tried to make it up to them. He'd walk by them and touch them on the arm and say, hey, how's your day, that kind of thing.
And he actually stood up for your entire division, and you guys weren't fired, obviously.
Right, exactly. He tried to explain to her. And here's the thing. This is a woman who wants to be the President of the United States. And now she's been First Lady for a couple of years, and he has to explain to her why you just can't fire 1,000 federal police officers. That's not leadership. She doesn't have a clue what she's doing, Joe, and that's a perfect example.
It's very odd, again, how they're trying to turn the tide and act like Donald Trump is her and that she's Donald Trump. It's very weird. Suddenly she's this great business person who got a bunch of jobs in upstate New York, which is not true. They lost a lot of jobs when she was a senator. And Donald Trump somehow is a no-good piece of garbage who doesn't pay taxes and hates women. It's not going to fly, but the media keeps on pounding. That's why I need a guy like you who has rubbed elbows with these people, who really knows who she really is when the cameras aren't nearby, to show up and tell us the story. Gary, I always appreciate the time. I want everybody to go and get your book, Crisis of Character, a White House Secret Service agent or a service officer discloses his firsthand experience with Hillary, Bill, and how they operate. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Joe, it's always a pleasure. Can't wait to talk to you again. Thank you.
And we'll do it again very soon. Again, Gary Byrne, go and get his book. It's Byrne. Quick break here. We'll come back with some of your phone calls right here on the Joe Pags Show.